Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today I'll be breaking down the 7-game NBA slate here for Friday night on DraftKings, talking through my early players I like, who I don't like, kind of game strategy, who I'm looking to get to, why, all the good stuff in this early look preview for tomorrow's slate. As always, the injury news does change everything. So always stay updated with that because a lot of these core plays are not going to be relevant by the time this slate starts tomorrow. So always remember to follow the injury news. And then, as always, make sure to follow me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, for the rest of the NBA season, I will be putting up these threads of kind of what you need to know in order to attack the NBA DFS slate on DraftKings or even bet. So as you can see here, I end up putting the game totals for all of the games here, and then I went in game by game for this thread here. I kind of put who I liked for each team, the starting rotation, kind of little bullet points for each. As you can see, did it for every single game here at the top. Who I like, who I don't like, kind of stuff like that. So if you guys like it, make sure to give me a follow over there. Always throw like retweets. Not gonna be one of those guys who's begging for likes, retweets, and follows at the end of the thread. Those guys are just grown men begging for that stuff. It's crazy. But yeah, gonna be jumping into this slate here, 7 games. So starting off at the top, obviously these odds probably going to change. These spreads are probably going to change because of injury news. But right now we do have 6 of the 7 games. Right now, Spurs Hornets looks like a great game to target. Two very, very bad teams. Only a 4-point spread, 238.5 total. I think Victor is going to sit this one out. So we could get some value there. Sixers Magic, 4.5-point spread, 222.5 points there. Not the best, pretty low scoring. Nuggets, Celtics should be a great game to watch. 5-point spread, 233.5. Suns Pelicans, 2.5-point spread, 235.5 game total, pretty solid. Hawks Heat, 6-point spread, 228.5. And then Nets Lakers, 6.5-point spread, 220.5 total. I think we're missing, was it Indiana Portland is the game we're missing? Or yeah. Looks like Indiana Portland is the game we're missing right now. So diving into the slate on the Spurs side here versus Charlotte, obviously a great game environment here. Victor is going to be, he's going to sit out for this game. So with him sitting out, Zach Collins is questionable, could be back. If he's back, he looks like an absolute stud if there's no minutes limit. Now, if he's on a minutes limit, then obviously we could look to a Barlow or a Mamu, whoever starts here. So we're going to get some good center value. So if obviously Collins is in, he looks really good there. But if he's out, then obviously they're going to start Barlow or Mamu. They'd probably both split the center minutes. But yeah, Barlow been playing a little bit more recently compared to a guy like Mamu, who's kind of been in the third string. So would really like Barlow, and then Mamu would be a really good pivot off of Barlow. It would still be viable if the Collins is out. These two are the ones you're going to want to look to. In terms of the rest of the team, as we can see here with Victor, he's been scoring a lot. Been shooting 15 and 20 times a game, scoring a lot. So that's a lot of usage to go around. So guys like Vassal's going to step up. I'd assume a guy like Keldon Johnson would step up as well. He's been coming off the bench. He's been god awful. Pop has really just ruined him as a player this year with the whole tanking, throwing him on the bench, all that stuff. That's besides the point. But Vassal, Keldon Johnson are going to step up offensively. If Keldon remains on the bench, a guy who could probably replace Victor would obviously be one of those centers. But in terms of offense, I think they would switch it up offensively because losing Victor obviously is a huge part of that offense because it's really just in that starting lineup, it's really just Vassal and Vassell, whatever you want to call him, and Victor leading the offense. And losing Victor, they're going to have to look to another guy to step up. Trey Jones, I think it'd be a fine play there. As you can see, he's had solid upside, but he's not going to shoot the ball a ton. You really just hope he kind of gets you that double upside there. 5,800, he's fine. But yeah, I would assume a guy like Sohan going to shoot a little bit more, going to be a little bit more aggressive. He's disgusting. I don't get pop in him, but yeah, he's there. He'll shoot more, so you could definitely go to him. A guy like Champagne, you could go to him. He's a shooter, doesn't really do much else, but if he gets to start 3,500, he'd be solid value. We could get a guy like Seti who could see more minutes. He'd be a decent dart throw down there, but yeah, really just kind of wait and see with the Zach Collins news what happens on the Spurs side because there's a lot of question marks because it's Popovich. You never know what's going to happen. Moving on to Charlotte here, LaMelo is back, as you can see. Played 27 minutes and then 30 and 31. So I think he's firmly in play here. Even if he's on a minutes limit, he's going to see about 30 minutes, maybe a minute or two more, possibly even more if they want to, fully take off the minutes limit. But yeah, 8,800 for LaMelo in this matchup looks really good. Terry is still, I'd say, a little bit too pricey for me. You should still see really good minutes, but obviously with LaMelo there, does hurt his upside in terms of rebounds and assists and even points. So Terry more so just a secondary option. I really like the price tag here on Miles Bridges. It's coming down, but he still has that double-double upside. And he's a guy who can do a little bit of everything. So I still think he's a great, great, great play here at 7,100. So I'm going to throw him in the player pool for now. Hayward's out. Mark Williams is out. Obviously, we have news here with Brandon Miller and Nick Richards. Because obviously, if Nick Richards is out, then we're going to look to possibly get PJ Washington possibly starting at center. If that happens, he look really, really good. But even so, him off the bench there, 5,100 is just way too cheap here. I know he's kind of dealt with some injuries there with the foot, but still mid-20s minutes he's seen in the past 2 games. Usually pretty productive. Shot attempts have gone down a little bit, but I'd expect him to get back to kind of that low teens range. So I really like him here, along with Miles Bridges is my 2 favorite plays. And obviously, if Brandon Miller's out, Richards is out, we can look to. I probably wouldn't look to value just because everyone else on the Hornets is just absolute trash. Even the bare minimum price tag, it's really just going to be dominated by LaMelo, Terry, Miles Bridges, and then a guy like PJ Washington. I don't think there's really much need to get to the value right now if that's the case. Moving on to Philly here versus Orlando. I see a pretty slow-paced game here, not the best game environment. Embiid looks fine if you want to pay up for him. Obviously, we know what he's doing this year. Maxey, the same thing. Pius there. They're all just secondary options for me. If you're looking to get different, we could definitely look to those 3. I don't know if I'd get to Oubre there with those 3 in play. They just lead the team in terms of usage. There's not really much leaking out to anyone else. Moving on to Orlando here. Franz is still out, so obviously Paolo still looks really, really good. He'll be a super solid contrarian option who, as you can see, just has monster usage. So going to be super low owned. Good option if you're looking at different at the top. In terms of the rest of the team, Suggs minutes just floating a little bit below 30. It makes him a fine play at 5,500. Cole Anthony, his minutes are kind of all over the place right now, kind of low 20s, mid 20s, sometimes high 20s. It really depends on if he's hot from the floor or if not. Goga's limited to low 20s minutes, so not a lot of interest for me in these guys just because they're all kind of limited to around 20-ish minutes. Now, Fultz is going to see close to 30 minutes again, 4,900. I know he hasn't been the best this year, but still, a guy who's 4,900 could see, 30 minutes, could be a little bit aggressive as well. I actually don't have a problem landing on him if you want to go to him there at 4,900. So right now, I'll just throw him in there a little bit. Not the worst play. In terms of the rest of the team here, Wendell, as you can see, playing mid-20s minutes. So there's a lot of guys here playing mid-20s minutes, if not close to 20 minutes. So it's just very gross. They did start Chuma still. They also did start Caleb Houston that other game. It's very gross right now on the Orlando side. I'd really just stay with Paolo, maybe taking a shot on Suggs and Anthony if you're looking for risky GPP plays, possibly even a Fultz. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd touch anyone else on this team. Moving on to the Denver versus Boston game here. For this game, Jokic, I do like the price tag on him. Obviously, we haven't seen like a huge monster game from Jokic in a minute. So I expect one of those to come here soon at some point. Decent matchup too against Boston. Don't really have the best defenders to guard him. Obviously, Al Horford can do a little bit, but still, I really like Jokic, really like Jamal there at their price tags. They both look really, really good. I think Porter Jr. is always kind of that random GPP play that you can land on at 6,400 that could actually smash. Gordon's questionable. I would assume he should be good to go here for this game. He's always kind of an okay secondary option. Besides that, not much interest in any of these other guys. KCP, I guess, is a GPP play, but otherwise, you're really looking for nothing down there in terms of value. Moving on to Boston here. Good price tag for Tatum. A good price tag for Brown, but, they're all coming in at solid price tags. I actually really like Derek White here. He's way too cheap. Even though playing alongside the starters, his usage, his shot attempts, his aggressiveness is pretty low. 6,100 for him is pretty much the cheapest we've seen since the beginning of the season, where even playing alongside those guys, he still had some solid games. So I'd say he's probably the most interesting to me right now at 6,100 is going to be White. That's really it. We could look to Horford. Maybe they're going to use him more guarding Jokic. So you could look at them at 5,600 though. Not that much of a discount there. In terms of the value, not much to like. Moving on to Atlanta versus Miami here. Trae Young is questionable. Obviously, if he misses, it just makes a guy like DeJounte Murray pretty much a lock. And then we'd want to get to, I'd say, at least one other player like Bogdanovich, who'd probably start or either come off the bench and play huge minutes and be super aggressive and make more. Those are the two options if there's no Trae Young. Now, if there's Trae Young, I think it's just solid to spend up. Same thing with DeJounte. I think he's more of a solid, decent secondary option. Jalen Johnson, I don't love the price tag, but he's playing monster minutes, and we know the upside is huge. As you can see, 50.5, 64. Some monster double-double upside there with him. But obviously, he's a little bit inconsistent. Capella has been fine. I don't like the matchup versus Bam, but they'll need his size there. Bogdanovich, I think he's probably looking at the best play right now for me in terms of this team if I wanted to land on someone, but still, his production's been a little bit fluky lately after having like a really strong month. Bay, he's seen the minutes. It's just the production's all over the place. So these guys are decent secondary options, but no one really stands out as like, oh, I want to get to that guy. Oh, I want to play him. I do like the price tag here for Okongwu. Finally dropped back down to the low 4Ks. If Capella gets in foul trouble, Okongwu's a little bit more mobile than him. Obviously, fouls probably more than him, but still, they're going to need his. They're going to need him there to guard Bam. So I actually do have a good amount of interest in him there right now. Moving on to Miami here on the Miami side. Fantastic matchup for this whole team here going against the Hawks. So Bam is going to be a super, super contrarian option, but he's really strong at the top. Obviously has that double-double upside. Jimmy, 7,600. I just haven't got to Jimmy yet in the season. I don't know if I will. He is pretty cheap, but still, it's just like he's not aggressive right now. I don't get it. Maybe he's waiting for the playoffs. Who knows? But he's just been out of it so far this season. It's been pretty weird. Tyler Hero is going to be kind of the main guy, the main focal point of this offense. He's been really, really good this year. 7,500 is a pretty cheap price tag for him, even with Butler back. But I'd rank it obviously Hero, Bam, and then Jimmy. The rest of this team, they're fine. But with these three kind of leading offense, I don't think there's a need to get to any of these other guys. As you can see, Jaime, when he played 15 minutes, did hurt his groin though, but so he's looking like he's doubtful. We could get Duncan starting if that happens. Sure, you can land on him, or you can land on Martin. They're there. But you're not really getting them at like cheap discounts, and everyone else is kind of priced up below that. So it's just like, I'd really just stick with the main three guys. We'd get better value from some other teams like the Spurs or even Charlotte. But yeah, moving on to the Phoenix game here versus the Pelicans. On the Phoenix side here, Durant, Booker, both very, very cheap here. Obviously with the 300 monster here with those two and Beal. They do kind of have a little bit of limited upsides, but still, I think Durant's going to be the safest. Booker probably has the highest upside just because of that double-double upside with the assists. And then Beal, more so that GPP play of the three. I mean, he's always going to be very low owned just because he's coming in at a pretty annoying price tag, 7,400 for just kind of a scoring dependent guard. Obviously, he can do more, but when you have Booker running points, Durant kind of doing everything else, it's hard to really get to Beal or really like him unless he came in at a great price tag. I think Nurkic is always a strong secondary option. Very, very good at double doubles. As you can see, not shooting the ball a ton, but still has the ability to go for 35, 40 plus with the ability to get some blocks and steals. So he's always there, always a solid option. Grayson Allen has been popping off randomly here and there, so it looks like he should be playing good minutes. It really comes down to, can he hit his shots? If he can have some solid upside, but you're really chasing him there at 5,900. I would not land there. Eric Gordon, same thing. You're kind of chasing. He's a fine value, but still, all the offense is going to be coming from the main three guys, and then some will leak to Nurkic, some will lead into Allen. I just don't think there's a need to force anything else. Moving on to the Pelicans here. Brandon Ingram's coming off of a massive game there, going for almost a 70 bomb triple-double. But yeah, with kind of this 300 monster, it's kind of the same thing. Like Brandon Ingram is probably going to be the safest play with the kind of the most upside. Zion's going to be the second option, and then CJ let me rephrase that. I would say CJ will probably be the safest, the kind of lowest upside, I'd say. Actually, let me rephrase that one more time. I think Zion's going to be the safest just in terms of just like kind of baseline points, but obviously he struggles with his ceiling when he's playing alongside CJ and Brandon Ingram. I'd say the next best option would be CJ. Solid baseline, good shooter, running point. So it's like he's going to have those assists upside, and he's going to get a couple rebounds. And if he hits his shots, like he should go for 35 plus. And then Brandon Ingram going to be kind of the focal point of this offense. It just comes down to how aggressive is he going to be peripheral stat wise, because most of the time we know he's going to try to get his shooting the ball, which he's been on a cold streak recently, but he did turn it on that last game. But there are games where he'll be going off, but he won't get any rebounds or assists. So that's the only downside with him, but he does probably have the highest upside with those three. J-Val, I don't love the price tag here. As you can see, the minutes are kind of all over the board right now. So they're back to that just random minutes with him. So don't love that. Trey Murphy, I think he's a fine GPP option at 5,200. Same thing with Herb Jones. They're kind of splitting minutes a little bit right now. So nothing crazy there. Larry Nance, if you think J-Val's going to get limited, he looks like a solid value option at 4,400. That's really it. They will sprinkle Najee, Hawkins, Daniels in there, but you really need like someone in the starting five to get injured or either have like a massive foul trouble for them to really do much there. Indiana here, obviously Halburn is out tonight, so they're on a back-to-back. So obviously there's not, I wouldn't say blowout risk because they're playing Portland, but obviously going to be on a back-to-back. So Halburn sat out tonight. I would assume he's back tomorrow, and I would assume Siakam's good to go tomorrow. With that in mind, it's really going to mess up kind of how we want to attack Indiana in a great matchup here against Portland, just because we really don't know what the minutes are going to be like right now with Siakam. I would assume 25 to 30, and it's just like in that case, it's like I think Halburn will still be a safe play if there's a no minutes limit, but in terms of the rest of the team, he's going to eat up a ton of usage. Siakam is, so it's like it kind of takes Miles Turner out of play for me. It takes all these other wings out of play for me. So that's kind of the big news there is like what's going to happen with Halburn and Siakam in their minutes. And then, if, they're both in, one of them's on a minutes limit or they're both not on a minutes limit. It's really just going to be those two at the top. You could definitely take a shot on. Obviously, Halburn looks great. Siakam would obviously be super risky. And in terms of the rest of the team, I don't think there's a need to force in these guys. They're all kind of priced up. And I just think there's better options across the board you can get to where you feel safer with their minutes and usage. Moving on to Portland here. I mean, my man Simons, as I always say, the minutes are always insane. He's going to shoot 20 times. It just comes down to can he be efficient? Can he hit shots? If he can easily go for 40, 50 plus. Every time I played him this season, he's gone for his like worst games of the season. So it's very frustrating stuff. Like this game, 21 fantasy points. This game, 21. These are the games I get when I play him, but it's just you can't deny the usage if this game stays close. It's going to be most likely because of him. So I always say that. I always throw that out there. I don't mind landing on Scoot. I mean, he's going to be super aggressive, going to absolutely chuck the ball, but still, I think it's safer to go with Simons. It's safer to go to even a guy like Jeremy Grant, who, as you can see, shot it 26 times that last game. Wild. But yeah, he's a little bit scoring independent right now with a ton of guards there on that team. So don't love the price tag with him. Ayton should be back. No minutes limit on him. I think he looks like a good option here at 6,800 against Indiana. Sharp is out, so we could get a guy like Kamara starting, or a guy like Jabari Walker. They'd be fine plays. I don't love the price tag in either one of them. You have Brogdon coming off the bench. I think he's a decent option there at 5,400. He should be a little bit aggressive off the bench. I mean, they just need to trade him at this point. Don't know why they're still holding on to him. That's Portland for you. And then the last game here, Brooklyn versus the Lakers. On the Brooklyn side, Bridges, Claxton, Dinwiddie, Thomas, Johnson, all strong options. Obviously, Bridges, a little bit scoring dependent at times, but he's kind of been turning up a little bit recently. Minutes are always really, really good on him. Claxton, they're going to need his size out there guarding Anthony Davis. So if he stays out of foul trouble, I think Claxton could be a sneaky smash play for this game tomorrow. Dinwiddie, same thing. I think he's super, super cheap here. Going against the Lakers, they're going to need him. I know the minutes have kind of been all over the place with him recently, but still, I would assume he sees close to 30 minutes, if not a little bit more. So at 6,100 for him, I mean, they're going to need him against the Lakers. So I do like him a decent amount. Moving on to the rest of these guys here. Cam Thomas, just don't like the minutes. Very score independent coming off the bench for me. So I don't think there's a need to land on him. Cam Johnson, I'd prefer landing on him, but still, they're just kind of there for me. That's really it. Sure, you could look to a guy like Royce O'Neal and DFS. Like, they're going to need their defense. So they will play probably mid-20s, probably even close to 30 minutes for both of them, I would say. So they're there. But once again, don't think we need to go there for value. And then moving on to the Lakers here. Obviously, LeBron and AD both look fantastic. So don't mind getting to either one of them. Russell has been starting, and he's been actually really good the past 3 games, as you can see. If you think that continues, I'd say 6,200 is way too cheap for him. So that's kind of my thoughts there. Reeves, same thing. I think they're both very, very cheap for the minutes they're getting, and they're both starting. And it's like, even though they're starting along AD and LeBron, LeBron's going to need his rest. AD's going to need his rest at times too. So there will be times where it's going to be Russell and Reeves leading the offense. So they both look very cheap for their roles. I actually do really like Rui as a solid value option at 4,300. He should look to be a little bit more aggressive as well. That's really it. Torian Prince is always in play. If you think he hits a couple threes, he could definitely go for 20 plus fantasy points. But that's really it. And then moving on to Vanderbilt, as you can see, that's okay upside. Minutes are all over the board. Maybe they need him for Mikal Bridges. Yeah, 3,500, definitely dart throw play. So that is the early breakdown. I will have obviously that Twitter thread up for tomorrow. And then as always, my updated core plays on my Patreon. So hope you guys like the video. Hit the like button. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.